So a couple of questions that keep coming up are, do you still have the saw blade? I suppose technically the answer is no. We have two saw blades. And we still have the tool here for changing out the teeth in them. I don't know much about these. I know Dad said one of them had a welded tooth. And he said the other one was the better of the two blades. I believe they are both softwood blades, although they did melt quite a bit of hardwood with them. He says you just got to go a little bit slower then. But I've never used this tool. I've seen it hanging in the stairway for, well, pretty much my entire life. Stairway going down to the basement. So, but it's fairly self-explanatory. Each of these replaceable teeth has got two holes. This little guy here, you got two pins there. So, still kind of learning, but it seems fairly self-explanatory. Got those going through the holes, and I'm not going to remove the teeth because I have no reason to right now. You know, you probably want to have a little extra safety layer here of cloth or something, but you just pop her loose. So I think it's just the tips that are replaceable. I'll bring you in close, see if anybody knows if this style tip is still available, and you know, where a guy would even start looking for those. I have no idea. I'm going to be relying upon people that know more about this stuff than me. Let's see what these are. I was guessing 36, but I think they're a little bigger. Yeah, just over 39, pushing 40 inches. I don't know if that means anything or not, but I know these blades belong to that mill. Yeah, let's bring you in here. Get a little bit closer look at these teeth. You can see they've been in there a long time, but I don't know if there's any sharpening them, or obviously I think they're probably gonna be just fine for me for just getting the mill up and running again. But when it comes to actually making good quality lumber out of it, I may have to do something different. I'm guessing I'll hit both these blades with the wire cut brush just to start polishing them up a little bit. Yeah, the other question that keeps coming up is, are you going to put a roof over the mill? Or are you going to put a concrete slab or gravel, or you know, that kind of stuff? What else are you going to do with the mill? The answer to that is yes, but not now. I'm hoping by spring I'll have recovered enough financially to pick up some gravel and lay down some landscape fabric and gravel. And then once the mill is up and running, I'm hoping to actually use it to mill a bunch of the lumber for the roof that I'd like to put over it. So again, long term, all that stuff will be accounted for. Short term, right now I'm still in phase one of let's just get this thing up and running and rebuilt so that it is functional. That's really my only goal. Actually, my only goal was to get the metal stuff picked up before the frost set in, and I kind of exceeded that by quite a bit. I got all the posts in the ground now, and we are starting to get some pretty decent frosts in the mornings, so I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do any sort of pounding of stakes and whatnot. But anyhow, there's a couple of our somewhat more commonly asked questions that I try to keep up answering, but I'm sure I fall short. I'm sure some people's questions slip through the cracks. And so there you have it. Back to work. Well, a couple things I could have explained better in that last video. So this rail needs to turn 90 degrees. What I mean, it's going to rotate because it's much stronger in the 6-inch direction than it is in the 1.5-inch direction. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this because it's kind of wobbly and flimsy, but I'm going to try. Hopefully it doesn't go falling off of our posts. Okay. My idea is not to attach anything until I'm able to mock this up with the Husk rebuilt, the shaft back in place, ideally even with the blade on there. Now, one thing I didn't really elaborate on, or I could have explained better, when I pulled that collar off last time, that collar actually is what sandwiches the saw blade itself up against this collar. Saw blade's got 2 holes in it, and it's about the same thickness as that step right there. So that collar, well, must be about the same thickness as this. So I have found a gentleman not far from my house who is in the process of locating some material, and he's going to make us a new one of those. He's got the knowledge and the equipment, and I think this is going to be child's play for him, but it's something that I didn't know how I would go about doing it. So I'm kind of glad that somebody with more knowledge kind of relieved me of that responsibility. So let's get going on that second rail. So I've got this mocked up just to establish the spacing we want between the rails. I'm still not going to attach the rails to the posts, but I am going to at least establish how wide this needs to be. So I decided to call these rails the A rail, and I numbered them. I think there's 11 of these pieces, and then this will be the B rail. This rail is just a chunk of flat iron, and it was right on the inside edge of the old beam, whereas this rail was centered on the old beam. So that's how I've got it set up here now. Just like that. All right. Yep. I think I'd rather listen to my ratchet. Well, we're going to start trimming down the first couple beams for the husk. The 4x6s are a little bit larger than the originals, so I'm just trying to shave a little bit off just to keep it as close to original as possible, just so all the brackets and everything, hardware, all that fits. Well, we got our spacer blocks in, at least the first 3, along with the spacer rod. I don't know if there's an actual name for those or not. And then I, of course, ran out of 6-inch legs. So the next 3 spacer blocks are just clamped in place right now. And the other spacer blocks are down there waiting to go. So, because I ran out of them, I moved on to the husk. I got the rails on this side removed, what was left of them, which wasn't much. And I got the new ones trimmed down to size on the table saw. So they are ready to start installation probably next weekend. So I'm going to get going here. There is more time, but it is cold and windy. It's snowing a little bit. Wind's coming straight out of the north. I'm getting cold and wimpy. And there's a hardware store on my way home that I can stop and pick up more lag bolts for this, which saves me from making a special trip later in the week. I guess I'm just using that as an excuse because it's cold and I'm wimpy. Anyhow, progress is progress, and we are certainly making some. So, thanks for joining me.